Yes, Divya.
Yes, sir.
Okay, start the meeting.
Okay, sir. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajapalayam. This is Divya MK, second year CSE, Ramco Institute of Technology. I am your host for this wonderfully organized event. Extend a warm welcome to you all on this marvelous evening. I would like to thank NSS RIT Rajapalayam and Science Club of RIT for organizing this beautiful session. Let us start our session with a Tamil Thai Valtu. Let me welcome our technical team to present Tamil Thai Valtu.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டனிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு திரை முதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறந்தியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
I am so proud to welcome Ms. G. Lakshmi Priya, second year CSE RIT to give welcome address.
Good evening to one and all gathered here. On behalf of Youth Red Cross and National Service Team of Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajapalayam, I would like to express my great pleasure in welcoming all of you to this webinar. At this moment, I am really privileged to invite Dr. O. Senthil Kumar, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Chemistry, Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajapalayam, to this webinar on environmental sustainability. I am most delighted that he has been able to accommodate this event in his very busy schedule of activities, and also that he has been able to grace the occasion as the resource person. Welcome, sir. I feel extremely honored to welcome our principal, Dr. L. Ganesan, sir, Vice Principal, Dr. S. Rajakarunakaran, sir, DGM, Mr. K. Selvaraj, sir, ECA Coordinator, Dr. K. Pasarikodi, Madam. I proudly welcome the participants of this program who came from the various districts in Tamil Nadu. We are extremely delighted to have our student volunteers and participants in this program. Thank you for adding value to this event by your presence. On behalf of the institution, I extend the heartiest welcome to you all. Thank you.
Let me thank my beloved friend Ms. G. Lakshmi Priya, second year giving welcome address with her delighted words. Now let us move on to the chief guest introduction. It's our thus most honorable Mr. Dr. O. Senthil Kumar, Associate Professor and HOD, Department of Chemistry, Ramco Institute of Technology. He hardly need an introduction. It's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Krishna Kumar, fourth year mechanical engineering, Ramco Institute of Technology, to give a chief guest introduction. Thank you.
Good evening to one and all present here. It is a great moment to introduce our today's chief guest, Dr. O. Senthil Kumar, sir. Warm welcome you, sir. Dr. O. Senthil Kumar is currently working as Head and Associate Professor of Chemistry in Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajapalayam. He completed his master degree in chemistry from University of Madras and a doctoral degree from Anna University, Chennai in 2005. He has qualified Council of Scientific and Industrial Research CSIR National Eligibility Test for doing his doctoral degree under government scholarship. After completed his doctoral degree, he worked as postdoctoral research scientist in Chimane University, Institute of Molecular Science and Nagoya University, Japan, for 7 years from 2005 to 2012. Later, he joined as teaching faculty member in Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajapalayam. His areas of specification or semiconducting thin films and nanomaterials and biosensors. He is currently teaching engineering chemistry, environmental chemistry, and nanoscience and nanotechnology to the undergraduate students. This is also a special mention that he is the coordinator of Science Day project exhibition of the college from 2014 to 2019. He has published more than 20 research papers in international reputed journals. He has attended several international and national conferences to present his research paper. He has also visited various countries like Japan, USA, South Korea, Thailand, and Malaysia for presenting his research work. We are proud to have you as a special invitee to this event. Once again, warm welcome you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Krishna Kumar. Okay, Devi.
My heart feel to thank Mr. Krishna Kumar, fourth year MEC, for the chief guest introduction. So awaited part has come. We are pleasure to invite our chief guest to give us valuable thoughts on sustainable environment. And we are hand over the session to Mr. Dr. O. Senthil Kumar, HOD, Associate Professor, Department of Chemistry, Ramco Institute of Technology. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Krishna Kumar. Thank you, Lakshmi Priya. Thank you for your nice introduction. First of all, I thank my colleague, Mr. Thiru Ramanathan, NSS coordinator for college, for his wonderful organization of various programs. So it's my pleasure to speak on sustainable environment in this occasion. First of all, I thank our management, principal, and vice principal, and other heads of the college for giving such wonderful opportunities to present various talks in several stages. So let me continue my talk from this introduction. I share my screen now. Okay, I believe the slide is visible, all of you. My voice is audible as well, I think.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. I'll continue. Thank you. So today's topic is sustainable environment. So this is from unsustainable to sustainable development. And the part of this topic is covered in environmental science and engineering in the first year paper. Coming to the development, what is true development? Development is about people, not necessarily economy and finance. Development is a process. It mainly focuses on improvement of welfare of the population. And also it finds ways to satisfy and improve human needs. So at the outset, the development should be wholesome. It should be applicable to the whole society, irrespective of the financial value, irrespective of the nation. Then that will be called as development. And then what is a sustainable development? That is what we are going to see in this lecture. So there are some certain challenges in the developmental stages. The main challenge is a demographic challenge. That means the population growth. The rate of increase of population growth in every country, especially in developing nations. So there is a typical challenge what we face today for various problems. Then when population rises, there will be a challenge for resources. The demand for raw materials, energy, food increases. In totality, it leads to environmental damage, environmental degradation, and destruction. So higher level of environmental impacts of human activities taking place because of these things. So there are various challenges involved in the society during the developmental stage. That is why United Nations Organization has defined some 17 sustainable development goals, out of which some of the key parameters like sixth, clean water and sanitation, 13, climate action, 14, life below water, 15, life on land, then 9, industry innovation and infrastructure, 12, responsible consumption and production. So these are all some of the key indicators of environmental challenge. Coming to the basic definition of sustainable development. So what it stands for, what is the word sustainable development? So development that meets the needs and the aspiration of the current generation without compromising the ability to meet those of the future generation. So it basically defines, it satisfies the demands, the resource demands of the present generation. As a present generation, of course, we should enjoy the comfort, we should enjoy the resources. That is not refused. We need not sacrifice whatever the resources we are enjoying. At the same time, we should not compromise the resources which is needed by the future generations. So that is the fundamental definition about the sustainable development. So development that meets the needs and aspirations of the current generation without compromising the ability to meet those of future generation. Sustainability is the word stands for the need, the resources which are required for the future generation. So it's a set of conditions and trends in a given system that can continue indefinitely. So it's a strategic process of continuous change in the direction of sustainability. That is why United Nations has defined in 17 sustainable development goals covering every aspect of a society, involving human, not only involving human, in every natural resources, biodiversity, and the environment. So when we realize those 17 sustainable development goals, then we can truly say, okay, we are moving towards sustainable development. So that should be the aim of every individual, not only that of government, not only that of a nation. Every individual should be involved in this strategic process and contribute towards sustainable development. Coming to the global sustainability, it is classified into these three types. One is economic development, social development, and the ecological development. So in the present talk, we are going to cover ecological development. Okay, we should respect the carrying capacity. So carrying capacity is the word meant for how much population should be on the earth so that the resources, the availability of resources will be satisfying the demands of that population. Okay, that is defined as carrying capacity. And conserve and recycle resources, reduce waste. So these are all coming under ecological development. Of course, these are all interrelated. Economic, ecological, and social development are interrelated. Only when we concentrate on all these three things, we can achieve the true sustainable development. So what is the aim of sustainable development? So that is divided into two types. One is intergenerational equity. So in the case of intergenerational equity, okay, the resources, the need, okay, that transfer from one generation to another generation. So it states that we should hand over a safe, healthy, and resourceful environment to our future generation. So it is talking about the exchange of resources from one generation to another generation. That is why intergenerational equity. There is another type of generational equity that is called intra-generational equity, in which in the present generation itself, in the contemporary world, in the present situation itself, some of the countries are rich. They are utilizing more number of resources, and some of the countries are very poor. Some of the countries are still developing. So the rich countries, the resourceful countries can give a hand to poor and the developing nations and make sure whatever the share of resources shared equally among every country. Okay, that is the responsibility of the rich country. Then only we can achieve through sustainability. So that is called as intra-generational equity. I remember when we talk about the intergenerational equity, generation from generation, I remember one famous dialogue from the movie Deva Magan. Okay. So this is the scene where two heroes converse about the importance of the responsibility, importance of the sustainability that is explained in this scene. Okay. Actor Shivaji was telling that whether non போட்டது அப்படின்னு தமிழ் சொல்லுவாங்க. So seed is given by me. So once I seed a plant, I need not be live to enjoy the fruits of that tree. Some 10th generation, 3rd generation, 4th generation people may enjoy that seeding, enjoy the fruits of the tree. So the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. Of course, we cannot sit. After 30 years, after 40 years, we don't know, we may not be alive. But still, the tree may be alive for generations. That is giving fruits to everyone. So in every aspect of life, the mentality of the human being should be in this way. So that is the true sustainability. Then we will automatically move forward sustainability. Looking at the present scenario, you look at the present population of the world, there are approximately 7 billion population. Of course, this is covering 6 billion. Okay. More than 5 billion people consumes only 20% of the total resources available on the earth. Okay, that is below the carrying capacity of the earth. So the carrying capacity line is given here. You can, middle of the graph, you can see. That means the available resources which satisfy the needs of all the people present on the earth. Okay. You can look at beyond the carrying capacity. 1 billion population from the rich countries consumes more than 80% of the resources. So that is very, very alarming. That leads to unsustainable progress, unsustainable development. You can look at the true sustainable level is here, but graph is moving towards there. That is not even shared among all the people in the world. More number of people are poor, more number of people are not available with sufficient resources, only 20%. So that is the problem present at present. And that is why intra-generational equity is also important. The rich countries should share their resources to the developing nations. Of course, that is happening through United Nations, and some of the activities are carried out by many of the non-governmental organizations. Even governments themselves are giving helping hand to the developing nations, but that is not sufficient as far as present situation is concerned. So we already know 3 classes of sustainable society: social, economic, and environmental responsibility. So in this talk, we are going to see some of the key points about consumption of resources, materials, waste, risks, the rate of change in natural and cultural landscape. That is what we are going to see. Coming to the environment, biodiversity, it is giving several values to our life. There are different aspects by which we are utilizing, we are enjoying the resources in several ways. Consumptive use, say for example, we are taking food in the form of plants, drugs in the form of herbs. There are several ways in which we are consuming, we are directly consuming the resources from the nature. In productive use, we are also converting some of the natural element into different products like paper, like wood-based products, and several other things. They are all coming under productive use. And social value, ethical value, aesthetic value. Of course, nature is having its own aesthetic values, and ethical values is also important. When we talk about ethical values, I remember one famous quote: "Live and let live." வாழு வாழவிடு. In Tamil, we say in Tamil, வாழு வாழவிடு. I should also live, and I also let others to live. Right? Live and let live. So that is coming under ethical value. Equal opportunity for every person present in this, living in this world. So social value, optional values are also there. An ecosystem service value. Nature itself manages many things like a hydrological cycle, water conservation, air purification, carbon dioxide consumption in the form of a photosynthesis process, and several other ways, right? Of course, the earth has been created ideally, very, very ideally. I believe it is the only place where humans can sustain. Earth is supporting every aspect of human life, not only human life, every species on this earth is provided with sufficient resources, but it is only the human, not any other species. It is only the human is spoiling the nature, spoiling the environment. So that is the problem. That is why we are talking about sustainable environment. So threats are mostly anthropogenic. Man-made activities are responsible for threats. There are different ways in which human activities, human-made activities are destroying the nature, like habitat destruction. Okay, living places of several species is getting affected because human is dominating species in the ecosystem. No species can dominate in the ecosystem. If any one of the species is dominating, then ecosystem will fail, including that dominant species will become extinct. A better example is dinosaur. Even though dinosaur is a dominant species, because it is over dominating, it got extinct. The same thing may happen for the humans as well. That is the problem. Habitat, because of the human developmental activity, habitat fragmentation is taking place. Suppose a forest is there, because of the urbanization, industrialization, the forest is divided into two parts. The animals cannot move from one place to another place because it has to cross over the city. That is the problem. This is called fragmentation of the habitat. Okay, so only in this case we are facing several like man-wildlife conflicts. Animals are coming in place of humans. Of course, humans are going into the place of animals. That is happening. And pollution, because of the pollution, climate is changing. Global warming is taking place. Over exploitation of the resources. We already seen more than 1 billion population from the rich countries. They are over exploiting the resources. Over usage of resources. They are using more resources than what they need. Deforestation activities are going on. So these are all threats, human-made activities that can be surely avoided. Okay. If we can plan a better lifestyle, it will be helpful for the environment as well as for our own health. So that is the important point. The threat is continuing, right? Animals are being killed for various purposes, various productive values, like ivory of an elephant, skin of a tiger. Several other medicinal values are also there, like a stork is being illegally traded. Small turtles are illegally traded from one country to another country. So there are several ways in which animals and other species getting threatened by the human. Right? They are killed. I already told you, because of the habitat fragmentation, there are also conflicts like man-wildlife conflicts. Right? Because we are living in their space, in the animal space, we are slowly destroying the forest and nature. We are building industries, we are building houses, we are living there. So animals, for the want of food, the water, they enter into the town. The man is involved in the conflict. Of course, man will be right. Of course, there will be some few casualties. Even with the few casualties, as a dominant species, man will always win. That is the worrying part of the nature. So animals should also given space. Should be given space. So another aspect of pollution is global temperature. Right? Global warming is taking place. You can look at the right side picture where last 50 years data has been covered. You can look at the Arctic region where almost more than 2 degrees rise is observed for the last 50 years. Near the equator, it is around 1 degree rise. Of course, it is looking small, right? Of course, if the present temperature is 36, if it becomes 37, what happens? There may be not a visible change in a single generation. Right? But when you look into the after 300 years, after 500 years, our future generation will suffer. Of Of course, we cannot survive at the temperature of 50 degrees Celsius. Even in the summer itself, it is difficult for us to survive around 40 to 41 degrees Celsius. Several old people are being affected because of the temperature rise. So when there is a global warming, sea level will rise. Most of the island part will be submerged inside the sea. So these are all immediate threats available in front of our eyes. So who is the reason? Who is the responsible person for doing these things? Of course, human beings. Only the human beings. So when we talk about the gas emission, greenhouse gas emissions, you can look at the data here. China is having more global emissions. India is in the third place. Why India and China are in the top place? Because we are highly populous countries. We are using more vehicles. We have more industries. We have more requirement. And that is why global emissions are also. So recently, most of the countries, most of the developed nation, pressurizing in the countries like India and China to reduce the emission percentage, especially carbon dioxide emission, and the chlorofluorocarbon emissions should be controlled by us in some way. So the fuel usage, the fuels like petrol, diesel usage should be avoided in the near future. That is why we are moving towards electric vehicles and solar energy in the recent days. Electric scooters are already in the market. Within 2 or 3 years' time, we will have electric cars. Why we are going for electric? Because it is a compulsion. Even if it is like expensive, right? Even if it is expensive, we have no other choice. We have to go towards that. Parallelly, you can see, right, in the last few years, the rise of petrol price, the rise of diesel price is also happening. Slowly, diesel will be eliminated from our market. There will be no more diesel cars. Small automobiles cannot use diesel. Only trucks and buses can use diesel in the near future. So this is how we are proceeding because we have a pressure from other countries. Because many of the countries have very, very low emissions compared to these 3 or 4 countries. So global warming is contributed by these 3 or 4 countries. Top 15 countries is listed. So that is another thing. So human anthropogenic activities lead to every problem in the environment. You can look at the picture, the way our lifestyle has been designed in the recent days. You can look at the comparison. In the beginning of 20th century, when we talk about the development, when we think about the development, prosperity, obeying, duty, responsibility, charity, honor, and faith is involved. In the recent days, in the contemporary world, you can see when we think of the development, buying a new car, good job, nice house, having technology, solving, these kind of things are dominating in our thinking process. So when our thinking process itself not good, not towards environment, how can we achieve a sustainable society? So it is a very, very difficult thing. So that is what reflected here. You can see even within our education system, the left side things, the ideal things, the virtues are not being taught. So that is the present problem we are facing. And look at the waste generation as well. In the olden days, whenever a system or a computer or television is getting repaired, we go to a repair shop and got it repaired. But recently, it is not happening. There is no repair shop. There is no repairing concept at all. Especially in the mobile phone, whatever the part is getting damaged, you don't have any replacements. Even in the cars and automobiles, we can't replace certain parts. Once it is getting repaired, we have to throw in the garbage. We're getting new products, new phones, new television sets. So this is how the technology is proceeding. We are creating more soil pollution, solid waste on the earth. So it is another aspect of damage in the environment. You look at plastic pollution, especially the presence of plastic in the water and marine. It is affecting the marine animals. Already scientists are observing the presence of micro level plastics in our body as well. Even within our body, We have some microscopic view. We can see some of the micron-sized plastic particles inside of the body. So we are using so much of plastics, especially single-use plastics. We could not avoid the usage of single-use plastics. Of course, Indian government is taking some stringent measure within a couple of years. At the beginning of 2022, at least the single-use plastic production should be stopped. There will be no production of single-use plastics. Then only we can control, right? Only if it is happening at the stage of production, we can control these kind of things. At least single-use plastics. Recyclable plastics, okay, we can convert that, we can recycle that, we can make them another product. That is that. That should also be avoided, of course. After some time, we have no other choice, we have to throw away even recyclable plastics into the waste. So whatever the so far slides dealing with more number of human-made activities. Of course, there are natural disasters. They are also responsible for threats to the environment like flood, earthquake, tsunami, these kind of things. It cannot be avoided. But compared to the natural disasters, human-made disasters are more. So that we should avoid. That is in our hand. We should avoid that. Right? Sorry for interrupting in the middle of the talk. Now, so far we have seen lot of problems the environment is facing. So we are talking about environment sustainability. Now I have a small questionnaire in the form of Google Forms. I post that questionnaire in the chat box. Please attend. It is not compulsory thing, but I request every one of you, every participant, to go through the questionnaire and attend. Take 5 minutes and complete. We come back to the topic. Thank you in advance. The questionnaire is in the chat box. So take 5 minutes and complete. Okay. Thank you very much for your responses. Back to the presentation. What kind of solutions can be done as an individual? Look at this quote. Only when the lost tree has died, the lost river has been poisoned, and the lost fish has been caught, will we realize that we cannot eat money. So money is just paper. The resources are important. That is why sometimes when we talk about a sustainable development, it is not mainly focusing on financial development. Whenever you talk about the development, it is about the resources. Even as an individual, your saving will not help, but whatever the resources you have in the form of gold, in the form of land, in the form of house, some type of resources will always be more valuable as a nation as well as the world as well. When you look at the world, environment is its original resource. Whether you have money or no money, it's not a problem. When a country is having more resources, it will automatically reach. So resources development is very, very important. Conservation of the resources is very important. So it is not a new thing. Okay, over the generations, people are fighting for the conservation of nature. Say, for example, in the early 18th century in Rajasthan, Amrita Devi is working for the protection of and conservation of forest against the king. Unfortunately, the king is towards deforestation activity for development. So they were fighting and sacrificing their lives. The same thing happens every now and then in every nation. Okay. The urbanization and industrialization given priority over the natural resources. So that is a clear thing. As I already told you, human is dominating, he needs space. So that leads to urbanization. He needs job. That leads to industrialization. And when we talk about these two things, automatically deforestation activities are happening. When deforestation activities are going, in the near future, our air, at least the air will be more polluted. We will be looking for good air. We have to go for a walk with the cylinder. Already in Japan, we have oxygen bars. So once in a week, once in a while, people are going to the bar, like a drinking bar. They are inhaling good oxygen. So when we have surplus trees, okay, we don't need such artificial things. Right? So there is the problem. So we need natural resources. Coming to the Indian aspect, there is some interesting data. You can look at the percentage of cropland in India before 10,000 years. You can look at the 10,000 BC. India was having more agricultural land. Of course, India is more civilized from the olden days that we already know. In the form of agriculture as well, we were dominating. But in the recent years, it gradually declined. The number of agriculture lands are declining. Of course, equally, the forest and the other natural resources are also equally declining. Only the population is rising. That is the threatening thing. That means we are not conserving the nature. We are not focusing towards that. Looking at the arable agriculture lands, still, even after that decline, still India is in the leading country of agriculture. More green means we have more agricultural lands. But I have a doubt, but still, whether we have more number of forests, that we will look into that. So we have resources in our hands. We have a nice land, but whether we are utilizing it properly or not, it's a big question. So it is a comparison here. You can look at the rise of croplands, agricultural lands over the years. The number of croplands increased thanks to green revolution. The that is important with the rising population. Food is important, food resources are important. That's why we are developing more number of croplands. You can look at the same time, you can look at the density of the forest that is declining. So we have to balance both these things. At least, okay, I am happy in the way that at least we have utilized the land properly with some plants, some kind of plants in the form of crops. Waste land, we are not wasting the lands. But in the recent years, especially after industrial revolution and the fast industrial development, we are slowly moving away from agriculture, even agriculture. We are creating wasteland. So that should not happen. Either it should be a forest or at least it should be agriculture land. So looking at the environmental sustainability index, it is very old data, 2005 data. India is still in the poor stage. You look at the light color represents around the index in the scale of 100. Okay, 100 is very good. The scale of 100 is having only 30 to 40. India is having environmental sustainability index is around 30 to 40. In the recent years, it may still low, probably because we are not contributing towards the development of India. But some individuals working continuously, some non-governmental organizations working, even governments with the help of strict environmental protection laws, they are making some efforts to protect and conserve the nature. Here is an example is called the Forest Man of India. We all know Jadhav Mayang from the Assam. Right. So he started a tree plantation at the age of 16, and over the 36 to 40 years, he has created more than 1,300 acres of forest. Now it is a home for several elephants and tigers. So an individual can contribute towards sustainable development. We can also do that. So that is the part of this talk. That is the purpose of this talk. That is what I expected out of you. Here is a man who is in Delhi, creating awareness about the forestation activities. Okay, without forest, we'll not be having any good oxygen. Oxygen will be depleted. So that is the immediate threat we have. Of course, during the virus period itself, it is a kind of pollution, like biopollution, bio-war maybe. In such cases, we have several scenes looking for oxygen cylinders. We have seen such a prettier thing. Without oxygen supply, we lost several lives in this period. Because this is extreme condition, pandemic conditions. Of course, we cannot compare it to the generalized situation, but generalized situations as well, it is alarming. It is more dangerous. So without a proper conservation of resources and tree plantation activities, we will be forced to have oxygen cylinders. It is very, very important for us to go for tree plantation activities always. So there are two types of forestation. One is afforestation, and another one is reforestation. Afforestation means we are covering almost every waste land and converting them into forest. In the case of reforestation activities, once you are using some of the trees, you are cutting some trees for your productive usages. Okay, you plant more number of trees in that place. It is called the reforestation activity. So it is our responsibility to have such good things. Okay, as an individual, we can contribute towards the society, towards the sustainable development. As some of the examples. The top picture is taken in the Singapore. Okay. We talk about the habitat fragmentation. There is a highway running through the forest. In such cases, in order to avoid animals getting caught in accidents, okay, they created a bridge that is bridging the two habitats. It is bridging the fragmented lands of the forest. So these are all some of the small ideas. Whenever we have new projects, we can look for alternatives. We can look for better ideas. That is the purpose of sustainability. We need not compromise on the comfortness of our own self. But we also make sure the future generation also enjoy such resources. Agroforestry is a new concept developing rapidly in our country as well. So in between agriculture, in between agriculture lands, we have a small forest like this. As an individual, at least if I plant one tree per year, at least I can plant 70 to 100 plants as an individual. If 1 billion population is focusing towards such activity, automatically we will have sustainable society. Only one tree per year. As an individual, I can contribute towards the society. Of course, I can contribute in many ways, like wasting the water. Some small things, small efforts can be taken in individual life. Don't keep water taps running while brushing, shaving, washing, or bathing. We may not waste water unnecessarily. So that is not happening in the recent days because tap is everywhere. We simply open and close. We could not realize the waste, the water is getting wasted. Only we can realize the wastage of water if we walk for a long distance, several kilometers, and bring water to our home. Then only we can realize the importance of water. Once when you open the tap and you are receiving the water, we cannot realize that. So every drop is important. We have to check the leaking water taps. That has to be repaired immediately. Coming to the agriculture, not only for conserving the water, even in dry areas, we can follow drip irrigation. Of course, the Indian agriculture system is recent days following drip irrigation system widely for the amount of water. Rainwater harvesting system should be there in every household. So water can be protected. And coming to the energy conservation, we have to go for alternate energy sources like solar. I already asked that question in the question. Drive a car only when it is needed, only when you are going for a long distance. Don't drive individually. You can use bicycle for the nearby distance. You can go for a walk in the nearby distance. You don't need to use a scooter. Whenever not needed, lights need not be switched on. Indian habit, right? Whenever it is getting dark, the light has to be switched on in every room. That is our tradition. It need not be. We can switch off once when it is not required. We can use passive solar lighting. We can use passive cooling systems instead of using air conditioning systems. Air conditioning wasting electricity as well as it is also releasing some toxic emissions in the form of coolant. Right? Not toxic emissions, it is emitting some gases, free and waste gases and other chemicals, hydrocarbon based chemicals into the atmosphere. That is contributing towards global warming. And reduce the use of fertilizer and pesticides. We can easily go for compostings, natural fertilizers. That is easily available. Of course, the production rate may be less when you are going for organic fertilizers. The production rate may be less. But for a long run, our soil will be highly fertile. When you're continuously using chemical-based substance in your land, then land nature will be spoiled. Fertility will be lost. In order to maintain fertility for our future generation, for my grandson, my agriculture land has to be used, then we have to essentially go for natural fertilizers, like compost. So mix of crops and agroforestry is essential. Drip irrigation system can be followed. So coming to the environmental sustainability, it is also called cycle economy. We have to go for a cycle. We don't need to waste anything in the land. So that is working on the basis of reduce, reuse, and recycle, 3R. So developing countries are really good at this. Already developing countries developed such a formula. Suppose I am buying a mobile phone, I am buying a television set, it got repaired after 10 years, 15 years. The company is responsible for collecting that waste. In our country, it is yet to happen. Once an item is getting repaired, I simply throw away garbage. Right? It becomes a waste. The company is not coming and collecting that. It is also happening in our country as well, but it is a slow process. Right? There is one simple thing. There is a simple thing. Okay. So 3R formula should be followed. Eco-efficiency, being less bad towards the environment. So we can consciously make decisions whenever you do something, I can ask myself whether it will affect the environment. That can be asked every time. Developing appropriate technology, public awareness, conservation, consumption of renewable energy sources, and population control, especially countries like India. The population control is also equally important because more number of people means more consumption of resources. That is more nearly equivalent to over exploitation of resources. Even as an individual, I consume less, but still, if there is a more population, then it will be equal to over exploitation of the resources. That can be avoided by population control. So I already told you, cradle to cradle manufacturing. The production is the responsibility of the manufacturer. And the recycling is also collection of waste, also responsibility of the manufacturer. That is defined as cradle to cradle manufacturing. So they can use it for recycling and upcycling. The nutrient cycle has to be provided a good environment that has to continue. The hydrological cycle is one aspect of water, and the other, the chemical, coming to the chemical and decomposition of species and other things that is happening through nutrient cycles. So that has to be regular. No waste rather than less waste. So when we reduce the usages, when we reduce the usage of resources, that will be more, that will be better. Of course, sustainability is not standing for that, but still, as far as possible, we can follow simple lifestyle, environment friendly lifestyle. Some individual, more number of individuals are doing in recent days. They have sufficient awareness to follow these things. They have rain harvesting system in the home. They use solar energy. They conserve the water. They always use natural fertilizers like vermicompost. So slowly they are doing. They also depend on themselves. Whatever the vegetable required, they will grow in their own homes itself. So decentralization, when we talk about this kind of development, decentralization is more important. Rather than going for a monopoly, okay, centralization, big shopping malls and all, decentralized systems will be better. They can always go and purchase things in a local shop rather than going for a Walmart or Amazon. So for a long run, these kind of things will be here. So sustainable development will be indicated by these parameters, okay, like water, materials and wastages, energy and air quality, land, green spaces and biodiversity, livable conditions, transportations. So these are all, when we observe these things over the years, how it is changing, whether it is going towards sustainability or it is creating some environmental related problems. If a question is being asked, it will be acting as an indicator. Coming to the transport, it creates pollution. Coming to the livability, the environment is polluted. We are not living in a healthy environment. Green space, it is rare to see. In every aspect, you can look at the indicators. So observe the society as an individual, how you can contribute in that way, and we move forward to the sustainable development. So with this, I end my talk. So thank you very much for your attendance, even in the evening time, for spending your time for this talk. And thank you once again.
Dear participants, do you have any queries? Kindly interact with the resource person and clarify your doubts. This is a time for question and discussion.
Sir, good evening, sir. So I am having one query. So you rightly explained all the sustainable development goals, sir. So, but at the same time, even developed countries also striving hard to achieve this all the 17 sustainable development goals. So is there any time period to achieve this in your perspective, sir? Even developed countries or developing countries. So hope you get it what I want to convey, sir.
Yeah, of course. When there is rapid technological development, most of the technological development are not sustainable. That is the problem with the developed nations as well. Even though they are moving towards sustainable, but still it is difficult for them as well. Of course, the time frame is being fixed by the world countries like UN, and every time they have a time frame. As I told you earlier, even Indian government has fixed a time, like 2022 as a deadline for avoiding single-use plastics. Even production has to be stopped over that period, within that period. Coming to the pollution, like air pollution, and the global warming aspects, they fixed like 2030. They have several protocols like Kyoto Protocol. The nations are interested, of course, they are interested, but still, coming to the technology development and the usage of the resources, still there is no balance. That is why we are suffering.
Okay, any other questions? Divya, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Divya, are you there? Okay, if there is no question means we will formally conclude the today's session. Now I would like to invite Sanjogida, second year ECE, to propose the vote of thanks.
I consider it a very great privilege to propose a vote of thanks to the dignitaries who have witnessed it as a memorable and successful event. Today, my words are not enough to express the gratitude. On behalf of our institution and volunteers of YRC and NSS, I would like to thank our chief guest, Dr. O. Senthil Kumar, Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajapalayam, who graced us with his thought-provoking address, set a perfect platform for our participants in the webinar on environmental sustainability. I would like to thank our beloved principal, Dr. L. Ganesan, and our vice principal, Dr. S. Rajakarunagaran, for all words of wisdom that radiated a source of energy within us. We will ever remain grateful to you and we thank you for being with us today. I am very grateful to our extracurricular coordinator, Dr. K. Basarikodi Madam, and faculty coordinator of YRC and NSS. Thanks to all the students, volunteers, myself, B. Sanjogita from second year ECE, and Lakshmi Priya from second year CSE, and MK Divya from second year CSE. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to all our faculty members who are our second parents, who always stand by us, guide us, lead us, and motivate us. Last but not the least, I would like to register my sincere thanks and gratitude to all the participants from various states across our nation, without whom the event wouldn't have ended with grand success. We feel proud and thank you for making us feel happy with your presence in this event. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sanjohita. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Thank you, sir, for sharing your wonderful thoughts with us. It was a highly relieving session, sir, and we are grateful for that, sir. Thank you all for patient listening. Kindly fill out the feedback link which was posted in chat box so that you can receive your participation certificates. Have a great and positive life ahead. Thank you all.